So I'm in the garage now. I'm gonna load my MS906 up and get connected with the bidirectional functions to the VTEC solenoid. Let me see. While it's doing that, that joker resides back here. There you go, right there. You can see all that oil leaking on there. That's the pressure switch here in the back, and that's obviously leaking. And the oil control valve was right there. I've had some newer, like the 09s, have an issue with the oil control sensor, and the light will pop on, but I never, I just had a connector issue and took care of that and never came back on. But with this one, I got the key on right now. I'm gonna, once it's loaded up, go to OK, go to yes, it's a US model, America. And I'm gonna go into the PCM, go to the active test, and see what's available. I know sometimes with Hondas it's a little slow. I had that last video I did a while ago with the oil control valve. That joker took forever to load up to do anything that in the active feature. So I'm gonna activate it through here, and then I'm gonna actually jump the wire. I'm gonna test the wire integrity too, see if there's any type of good connection, like a ground, or I got 12 volts when I command it through here. So I'm gonna go to diagnose, control unit, PCM. This is engine PG, program of fuel injection. Inspection is where I need to go. And VTEC test right here. I want to do solenoid activation. So, all right, the engine's off. I am meeting the criteria for that. I'm going to push yes, and I'm going to push the OK button now. Let's see if I hear an audible click. Oh, you hear that? Oh, nearly. Do it again. Look at that. Let's look at it. Well, it's kind of answers my questions. I don't have to check the wire integrity now. Is I can command through here, goes to the PCM and commands it to come on, which is a sign that everything's working fine. Now, why this isn't working, it could be something else. I do need to take that off and make sure there's no type of obstruction in the screen because of lack of oil changes. More than likely, I'm going to recommend changing all that, the whole unit. And I'm going to go through my favorite parts store in the world, O'Reilly's Auto Parts. And see what happens. The only other thing I can do is a visual inspection and assume that it's stopped up. Because if it's not working, it's trying to work when I did that onboard test. I don't know anything else. I mean, as far as what I know right now, I know it works. I know it's trying to come on, but for some strange reason, it's not doing its job. The only other thing is I can assume there's a lack of oil changes. The one other thing I can do, pull this out. Look at that oil cap, because she might not have kept her oil service intervals kept up. If that light will stay high, you know what? Stay right here. I don't have adequate light in here. Let's see what this looks like. What do you know? There's sludge in there. There's nothing major, but there is sludge in there. Take a look at the bottom of this cap. It's not too bad. There is sludge down there. Only other thing I can do is take that off and inspect it. I got a VVT actually, a solenoid over there. There's a screen on these jokers, and if that screen gets stopped up, you're gonna have some problems. So that's my only other assumption. Knowing her, she's gonna want to take a cheaper route. I just want to get it done right and fast, so I can move on to the next project. Yo, boy. All right, get down. Could I do anything else? I think the answer is gonna be no. All right, let me figure something out. Here's the moment of truth. I got it off. So there was 3 bolts, and they look like this. I got off. It was very easy. All right, I have not looked inside of this. This is my first time pulling it off. This is a pressure sensor here. No, that's no, that's not. I'm just talking out loud. Here we go. Moment of truth. Gasket is definitely flat. Let me get it in some light. Hold on. All right. So this is it. To my disappointment, doesn't look. The gasket is definitely flat. I can tell you that. I'm putting a new gasket on there anyway from Honda, so I need 2 hands. Let me see if I can prop this up. So I mean, it's obvious that it hasn't really, the oil change is kept up, but it's not like obstructed to the point where it shouldn't work. I didn't want to clean anything off because I didn't know if there was something leaking inside, and I didn't want to miss that if I was to take the brake cleaner and shoot it. Well, I know for a fact I'm gonna change the gasket, so that could have been the culprit. But it was my fault for not looking at any type of pits for the pressure or anything, so that was ignorance on my part. Well, at least I was hoping that it would be an obvious rip in there, but it's obviously flat. If I take this whole unit apart, I know that I'm gonna have to tackle another gasket. I can just call Honda and see if they got one in stock. It'd be a good idea to check the cylinder. I probably can just hook it up to the car. Probably can just hook it up to the car, go through the scan tool, and just activate it that way, so we ain't got to worry about putting a jumper wire or anything on there. So, it'll crack like an egg, right? It's coming apart. Something's in there. Oh, shit. I ain't hear nothing to shoot out, so Yeah, okay, it was a gasket that was pretty hard. Alright. I'm just gonna look at these passages. Take this out, shoot some brake cleaner in there. Oh boy. Yeah. Nice. Seen that gasket online too. Those passages look pretty clean. I mean, this. You know what? I really want to just replace this whole thing, but it's gonna wind up costing like her $400 something. And I would feel a lot better doing all that, but all these O-rings are pretty bad. I mean, these O-rings are worn out. I mean, the fluid can't stay where it needs to be, and it'll seep past here, lowering the pressure, causing it to seemingly work, but not work at its full potential. I mean, it's not like I can. Well, I can. I'll put all new O-rings in here. I mean, they just slide right on in there too. It wouldn't surprise me. The oil just seeping past here. I probably could just get an O-ring kit. Put all new O-rings on here. This gasket maybe. I'm gonna see if I can get this from the dealer also. Should I be doing this? Should I be doing this? I don't know, because I might break it and leave it alone. I think I can get an O-ring kit from like probably like I got an O-ring set over there. Damn sure not putting the Harbor Freight ones in there, because I will be going back through this joker. Man, this is real audible. I'm gonna clean this, hook it back up, unless I take my jump box, hook them up real quick here, and see if it works. I don't know what's quicker. Let me get my jump box. Let me shoot some brake cleaner. I think I'm just gonna O-ring all this stuff, and if this works out. Put all new O-rings on it, just redo it. Let's see how this works. I don't know if that's supposed to happen. I don't know if fluid's supposed to be going down in there. It's supposed to be able to. I don't have a known good one, so I mean, unless my source of information tell me how it works, where the fluid goes. I say put a new solenoid on here, put a new gasket set on here, and retest everything. I'm not gonna pull that out. I can't imagine that spring valve being bad or anything. Yeah, I can't imagine this being bad. Little valve body. I'll see if Honda got this gasket, see if I can get the solenoid, and well, I mean, I really feel like I'm guessing it's honestly replacing it. So my luck isn't that great today. I called Honda, and everybody's kind of having issues finding the gaskets, and they saying, well, this one don't have gaskets, you gotta seal this up with sealant. Like, this is life today. So I'm gonna do what I got, use my RTV sealant the best I can, and I know that stuff will hold. That stuff bonds like crazy. So let me get my brake cleaner. Alright, got it cleaned up. That's the outside. Brake cleaner works wonders. Alright, O'Reilly's. Alright, let me see if I got an O-ring that'll fit. I think so. Probably take care of it. I think. Oops. I can do even better. It's about the same size as that, right? Yep, that's about right there. Still gonna put a little sealant on the threads. Yeah, it's gonna be caked up. I'll put a dab. Thread right there. And the vise and tighten it up. So that's in there, that's tight. Next comes this gasket here. It's like flat, golly. I could use copper spray, but I don't trust it. Clean this off with this brake cleaner. Mess. Just gonna seal one side of it because Put a little thin bead on the other side here. And something real thin. So when I smash down on it, I mean, it's seeping through. I'm just taking that little bit and going around it. I mean, it don't take much. Dab a little bit on my hand and go around it. It's dry, it's gonna stick to it. This is some real high torque stuff here. Use this on that last motor I did, and I've done it on several timing gaskets. And this has worked so well under pressure. Alright, I'm gonna take this and sandwich it between here. If it don't work, it's damn sure gonna be clean. Yup. Here we go. Alright. Oh, different sizes. I really would have liked just to put new gaskets on here. It's not happening. Some advice and tighten that up. Snug everything down. Yeah, that sealant seeping out from the side there. I'm gonna let this sit overnight anyway. I'm gonna clean this strainer. Do the same thing. Should take a toothbrush and see if I can get those out. It doesn't really matter if you get the dirty because that brake cleaner is going to clean all that out. I'm just trying to get the big debris out. Yeah, got those chunks out there. As if that's doing anything. Alright, I got the housing clean off the block, the cylinder head. So apply a little film. I'm not liking this at all. Just get to that part with my finger. It's gonna be real thin. Might be able to. Around that way. I mean, there's no doubt it's gonna seal up. I tell you that. My hope is that this. just putting a real light coat on here too. You know what I forgot to do? Put that solenoid on there. I can do that last anyway. I'm gonna put this on last. Let me put this housing on here while that's drying up. So that was a no-go. I went through a test once, it passed, and then went through it again. There was no luck. What I'm gonna do, I went to live data here, and I went to the rocker arm control. I got those pulled up and the rocker arm oil pressure. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna drive it and just kind of take a monitor of what the oil pressure is when the rocker arm solenoid activate. And I'm gonna also, of course, I should have done this before, but I have such a bad habit of just wanting to figure everything out, as if I know everything. Look up the code setting criteria for this code that is setting, and diagnose it that way. I'm just so bad for that. Let me do a little investigating. Alright, this is the solenoid I just looked at. I honestly just did this test once and it failed. But I want to make a note of the pressure here. If there's much of a pressure difference. Because it was at 66 kPa. Went up to 70. Seems like this one is able to hold the pressure a lot better, but it still failed. The only other thing I want to do right now is I'm going to put the other pressure sensor in there. Look at the live data, because I remember when it was off, it showed 2 psi. Where's the oil pressure? There you go, it is at 2930. I'm gonna take note of this. Take note of the engine RPM. So at about 650, it's about 30 psi. Let me swap the other one out. Okay, I got a new sensor in there. Now when it's off, it's at 1.6 psi. I'm gonna start it up and let it see what it does at 650 RPM. It should drop, only because the value at 0 dropped. Yeah, look at it. That's crazy. Look at this. Look at this. Just look at it. Alright, so I'm going to run the same test. See what happens. Yeah, look at it. It's dropping like to 20 psi now. Anyway, alright, let's go to another inspection. Go to VTEC test. Cut the car off. I hate parts and stuff, but so I need to go back and review the video and see what it says at idle with the kPa. Let me rev it up so the number should be lower. Let's go to 2000. I'll have a look at the previous video, because I remember that joker's shooting pretty high up, and the RPM, look at it, drop to 11. It's crazy. Okay, so I'm not perfect. I will say I don't know everything and everything. I probably misread information. So you have to forgive me sometimes when I think aloud. I'm gonna try it again because I remember when I'm gonna do it 3 times, see what happens. Because this pressure sensor may have been the culprit. Oh, shucks. But I gotta give the people the actual answer to why this joker wouldn't work, man. I mean, the pressure did show something different. I mean, it makes sense now. I mean, the pressure's nearly zero if it's supposed to be a pressure relief valve. If the pressure relief valve is faulty, it makes sense for the pressure to be high. And I will say, this is exactly why you have to have a special tool to do the oil pressure test and put this valve in line with the pressure gauge. Look at it drop to 9 psi. Cool. Only thing, I mean, because 2 psi was like low, and I don't know if, I mean, it's low, but it's not zeroed out, and I mean, I don't know if that's normal. But I mean, even with the car off, no pressure, it still read 1 psi, 1 point something. But I guess being out of spec, if it's close to zero, I guess that's fine. I guess if it goes up significantly and it can't monitor the proper pressure, like I assumed that it was supposed to be over 36 psi. I mean 36 kPa. I was incorrect. So evidently it probably needs to be lower. But again, I need to review the footage because I mean I could see on here since I recorded it what worked and what didn't work. So it'll be on there, and I'll just have to review it when I edit it video. I'm gonna do one more test, and then take it on the drive, and ensure everything's fine. Why'd I do that? I'm not supposed to. I should have known it by now. It's a pattern going on here. Well, I'll say she got a completely clean unit, and I probably could put the old sensor back in there. I mean, it wasn't broke. I mean, superficially, it's more appealing. I mean, it honestly didn't need it. But I will say the pressure's higher with the new one because of the gaskets. Let's see it drop now. Because my initial thought of it, how this pressure relief system is supposed to operate when I read the operation of it, makes sense now. I mean, if it's supposed to only apply pressure, relieve pressure, then having pressure shouldn't be a thing when it's relieving the pressure. Yeah, it works normal. I want to say this is fixed. I'm glad I didn't do anything else, and I hate that this source of information wasn't too accurate as far as diagnosing this. So even if I would have went through the testing procedures with back probing, the sensor, it wouldn't have been accurate. This job would have required a manual gauge just to get the proper reading while this cylinder is on, while the VCM is on. So I would hope, I mean, even if I was to do a resistance check on this sensor here, it wouldn't say anything. And I hope we learn a lesson. You can't trust the information the car is giving you, even if it's just giving you oil pressure. So let's see what it's like now with the live information. So I know that since the pressure is lower, I mean, that's average for a car, 15, 20 psi at idle anyway. I just didn't think much of it when it was idling, because, you know, the temperature of the oil couldn't have been high. It could have just been cool. Rocker arms. There you go. So at idle now, 650, 19 psi. I learned something. The good thing is we didn't have to. It would have fixed it, but I didn't have this lady purchase a $400+ part on top of having to replace this and diagnosing and labor and stuff. So, she saved the $700. You want to say? All right, I'm gonna test drive this. If I don't update anything, it's fixed. Unless I figure out anything else that it could have been tested. But other than that, the only thing I learned from this lesson is, hell, I don't have all the tools under the sun, and doing a manual oil pressure test with a mechanical gauge would have definitely gave me the right information of what this car is doing. So if you don't see baseline oil pressure at about under 20 psi, which normal cars have about 15 to 20 psi oil pressure at idle when it's warm, if the pressure switch isn't closest to zero as possible, maybe we can give it a tolerance. But then again, what would the scale be? I don't know. So how do you give or take 5% of zero? Anyway, I don't want to get too far off. We see what we need. See what happened with the PSI with the car off, key on, and with the live data. What it was showing 2+ PSI oil pressure. That was inaccurate. We got it close to zero, and it altered the scale, the broad scale of pressure also. So we learned something. It's fixed. The solenoid worked, and I hate to have put a solenoid in it when the solenoid was audible and it worked, but I'm pretty sure the other mechanics out there who have put solenoids in cars and it didn't work because replace the solenoids, and it, even though it had an audible sound, assumed that it worked. I think I said it right. So let me say it again. I assume there was mechanics out there who have heard audible noise and assumed that it worked, and it was still faulty because maybe the little pintle, the little valve in there wasn't capable of holding the pressure. I think I'm ranting. This video is gonna be very long. But yeah, I'm gonna edit it, upload it. We see what needs to work, and if I don't upload, we know what is required for this joker to be optimum. Peace.